Hi everyone, today I'll be showing you how to create this Wonder Woman body paint. First, you want to start by doing all the base coats of the main colours. I started with the red and then I went in and did the detail work with the yellow at the top of her bodice. After I did the base coat of the yellow at the top of her bodice, I went around the edge with a small brush and a dark blue. As soon as I'd lined all the edges and got all the details I wanted, I filled in the blue. I then went in with the same small brush and lined out all the areas that I wanted to be shadow. I used a black water-based paint for this. I then went in and filled the shadowy areas. The top blue section of this is material, so you want to think where the shadow would fall naturally. I went in around the gold as those areas would be higher if this was 3D. I then went under my collarbones and up my neck where the shadows fall. I then went back in with the same navy blue as earlier to soften and blend out the shadows. After that I went in with pure white. I did this to add highlights to the areas where the light would be hitting the body, like the collarbones. Then again, using the navy blue, I blended that out. Next I started working on the gold areas. For the shadows, instead of using black, I went in with an orangey brown. I chose to do this because using the black over the yellow would have made it grey. Once I had done all the orange areas, I went in with a white to add the highlights. You need to remember that in her costume all of the gold areas are metal, so they would be very shiny. Once I'd done all the highlights, I used a tiny detailing brush to add in some shadows and some details. As you can see, these black lines give the top section much more definition and make it look more comic. For the last section of the body, I move on to the red part. I start by doing all of the highlights. I then go in with the black paint again to add all the shadow areas. Lastly, like the blue section, I go back in with the red and blend the shadows and the highlights to make it look more natural and smooth. You want to place your highlights where the curvature of your body would hit the light, so the highest points of your body would be the lightest points. Lastly, I go back in with that detailing brush and just paint in all of the fine black lines and the white highlights. Next, I worked on her headpiece. I started by doing a base coat of that light yellow and using the orange again to create the shadows. I then carefully sketched out and filled in the star in the middle of her headpiece. Once that was filled in, I went back in with the detailing brush, the black and the white paints to add all of the shadows and the highlights and the definition to her headpiece. Lastly, I worked on my skin. I used my foundation to line the edge of the crown and work on the high points of my face. I then used a buffing brush to blend in my foundation to my skin. Next, using a small brush, I drew in where I want the contour to be. I did my cheekbones, my nose, and under the headpiece to add some shadow. I then used the buffing brush again just to blend it back into my skin. I then went in with a brown water-based paint to fill in my eyebrows. Remember, this is supposed to be a comic look, so they don't need to look natural. Using a red liquid lipstick, I then filled in my natural lip shape. You want to remember to match your face to your body, so I went back in with that detail brush and the black paint to add some contour lines and some details like eyeliner and shadow to my lips. I then did the same with adding highlights. Finally, to complete the look, you want to add lashes.